have an Xbox One. I don't know if you told them that, John.
I didn't tell them that. You weren't
Oh.
supposed to say
Oh
anything.
shit!
You have an Xbox?
Oh no.
Oh god! Oh god!
You tell me you
All
have
right,
an
well,
Xbox?
podcast is canceled.
I-
See ya.
User disconnected from your channel.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Bottlefield, where we normally cover Battlefield news and gaming updates. With me, as always, are Cryptic Panther
Hey, everybody.
and Doing Work.
What up?
I'm Gladys, and we've got a very special episode here for you guys tonight, as we have the Battlefield's first ever guest appearance. So let's all give a very warm welcome to UberYoutuber.
Yay, insert clap track.
What's going on, guys? Nice. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you. So we are here for this podcast specifically with UberYoutuber to have a discussion about the Nintendo Switch. And Uber, you're a big fan of this thing, huh?
I am a big fan. Yes, I am actually. I do enjoy it. I picked it up on launch, and I guess I'm a Nintendo fan. I'm gonna say it. I'm a Nintendo fan. Mostly I play on the PlayStation 4. I'm a PS4 gamer. But I do enjoy Nintendo products. I mean, the Wii U was the first console I didn't pick up at launch, and that was just a hot mess. But everything else, I've kind of pretty much been on board with Nintendo. So yeah.
Okay, and you have some of the handhelds as well, or no?
I did have a 3DS. I don't have it anymore. I just kind of had to consolidate, but I did have a 3DS for a while. And I was excited for the Switch to kind of, I actually loved the PSP as well. I'm kind of all over the place here, but I love the PSP when it first came out. When was it? I guess 2006.
Yeah, a while back.
Yeah, a long time ago. And the Wii U was garbage. The 3DS is fine, but just not capable enough for me, I guess. And so I was really hoping the Switch to kind of fill that void as far as mobile gaming is concerned,
That's an interesting way to look at the console, though.
Exactly.
Well, that's the thing. To me, it's not. It's really a hybrid, right? I mean,
Yes.
To me, it's not. I don't compare it to a PS4. I don't really need it to be that either. I kind of. I want it to be a gaming experience that I can take on the go and also easily hook up to the TV and play it. I don't need a 4K experience. I have that. I have that with the PS4. So I kind of look at it as a convenient way to play more games when I'm out and about, and even when I'm at home. The main thing is just being able to play a game both on the go and at home, and just pick up right where you left off. That's kind of a cool thing.
Okay.
I mean, the Vita was supposed to be that. I wish there was a real good comparable handheld device for the PS4, where you could literally just play your game, the same games you're playing on the PS4, play it on a mobile device, but it's just not possible. So the Switch, I don't know, it does that for me. Different games, obviously, but yeah, I'm happy with it so far.
Okay. Well, as listeners to the Battlefield will probably recall, the last couple podcasts that we've had have been pretty much ripping holes through the Nintendo Switch, so much so that we're actually going to officially name it the Nintendo Swiss. But no, we've talked a lot about it, pre-release and now post-release, and we're not the only critics that are out there. So with this particular podcast, we're very happy to have Uber here to kind of give a different opinion, and one it's more positive. So our discussion here is going to be based on his experience with it, and actually he's the only one that has direct experience. So pretty much here you're the Switch expert. So all of our fears, you're going to try to sway us, and try to sell us on this a little bit, right?
I'm gonna try my best.
Okay.
I've looked at the talking points. I'm gonna try my best. I mean,
Good luck.
I'm not some crazy person either, so I
Yeah.
may just agree on a few things with you guys as well.
Okay.
Well, I mean that's I mean like we're not making let's say we're not making unfounded
No,
remarks. I mean the stuff that we're talking about is issues that people are posting online about. Yeah, because none of the three of us
Yeah.
have a Switch, so it's not like we've bought one and we've had all these problems. And I know some people haven't had any problems, but yeah, I mean we want to kind of like, hey, like this is a problem. What do you think? What's
right.
your opinion? This is kind of what we want.
Yeah.
That's what we invited you here
Yeah.
for.
And let me say that I'm not a Nintendo hater. I still to this day, actually about 10 feet from you right now, I have an N64. I have a Wii. I have a DS. I have a 3DS. I had a Super Nintendo. So I'm not necessarily hating on Nintendo more, or rather than hating on the Switch itself and some of the problems. But maybe I just don't understand its niche.
Maybe.
I'm coming into it with an open mind,
Yeah, well, like I'm the same. I mean,
clouded with anger, but an
Yeah,
open
I mean,
mind.
I had an NES, an SNES. I had a Nintendo. I had 64. My wife still has a 3DS. We had a Wii for a while. It's gone. Never bought a Wii U, and not buying a Switch. But yeah, I don't hate like Nintendo or Nintendo games. I just think what Nintendo done was fucking stupid.
Yeah, I'm probably the least involved with Nintendo products. I grew up playing Nintendo, Super Nintendo, N64. I didn't have a GameCube, and I never bought into the Wii gimmick or the Wii U, and none of the handhelds since the Game Boy. So, I mean, I'm I guess from nostalgia, a big fan of Nintendo, but I just feel like it's been a lot of missteps, especially with this particular console, but the last couple as well. I feel like they cash in too much on gimmicks, but we've already talked about all this last couple podcasts. So to move on specifically to the Switch, we've got a whole bunch of talking points that we're going to tackle here. So one of the first ones, we don't have to necessarily go here in order, but let's talk about, I want to hit price first and foremost. Uber, now you talked just before the podcast started a little bit. We were talking about the third-party support. I'll actually roll two products into one, or two talking points. The lack of third-party support. We've got 70 or 80 confirmed games from the list I was looking at, and of those games, I can probably pick out half a dozen that I've heard of. One of which is, of course, Skyrim, which is confirmed. That's a big deal. But the NBA, 2K, and FIFA are among that list as well. Most of those seem like indie games, though, and most of them I can pretty safely assume, I think, just from the title, that they're probably going to be within the 5 or 6 rating out of 10. I feel like the lack of third-party support has been historically Nintendo's downfall with their last two consoles that they've released, Wii and Wii U. And I fear pretty heavily that the Nintendo Switch is going to die on the vine as well from lack of third-party support. So my question here, the first thing I want to tackle is, without proper third-party support for the rest of 2017, and we're talking 7 months, how do you justify the price with its competitors being priced the exact same?
We lost your audio.
You lost my audio? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
we lost you there for a second, but yeah, we got you back.
All right, where'd you lose me?
Just when you were talking about the next 7 months.
Okay, so yeah, the next 7 months we have confirmed a whole bunch of basically indie titles that are probably going to be mostly throwaway. So how do you, as a Switch owner, how do you justify the price when competing consoles that have been around for a while, the Xbox One and the PS4, have such a wide backlog that they can play, and on startup they have so much more that they can do? How does Nintendo justify a similar price point when this particular console not only does a lot less, but has a lot less support? Where do they get the justification for having such a high price for this?
Right. Now, see, I look at it from a little bit of a different angle here. If you're looking at console prices, yes, I agree with you. You can get a much, higher powered machine for, a similar price point. with the PS4 and the Xbox One. And I mean, you know, you can get deals and you can probably get one for the same price. Now, you cannot take those consoles on the go, though. To me, that's still a big deal. And, you know, looking at current day technology, I mean, I have a cell phone, and it's, you know, a cell phone that most, you know, a lot of people have a similar cell phone to mine. And you look at the price tags on those things, they're 700, $800 sometimes with the new smartphones, you know, with a 4 or 5 inch screen maybe. So, to me, the price point is fair. You know, considering you can take it on the go. I don't just look at it as a console. I also look at it as a mobile gaming experience. Now, the third-party support, I think that's really going to make or break the console. You touched on it there. To me, the indie games, the indie developers, that's really, like, I think the Switch is a platform that can really succeed on. The indies can really thrive on that. And I don't know if we're going to get a lot of AAA, you know, Battlefield type titles on the Switch, if any, really.
Yeah.
I mean, the hardware is just not up to snuff. And I mean, I'm not going to try to say
there's
it
no
is.
question or spin about it. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Right. And I don't know if these big, you know, Fortune 500 companies are even going to, you know, throw a bunch of money at developing one of those AAA titles and try to, you know, kind of make their product, make a lesser version of their product on a lesser console. Like, you know, I just don't know if that's going to be a smart business decision, you know, for those big companies. But I do think the indie development companies can really thrive on this platform. And I think that's what's going to make or break the console. But as far as price point, yes, you can get an Xbox One, you can get a PS4 for roughly the same price, but you need a TV with that. I mean, you got to buy a TV, you got to have a monitor of some sorts to play it, and you can't just go up and, you know, take it anywhere. So to me, the convenience of that, having a screen built in, having 2 controllers come with the console, granted, they're not great, you know, but I mean, right out of the box, you have 3 different ways to play the console. To me, that's huge. I mean, to me, that's worth something, you know. So I think the price point is fair, honestly.
Okay. All right.
That's a fair argument. I do. If you think of it in terms of mobility and playing 3 different ways, if you split the cost by 3, you'd be able to play in the Nintendo Switch games in 3 different ways. So it kind of wrapping 3 ways to play into one price. I can somewhat understand that, sure. But as far as third party and indie games, I would be wary of saying that indie games thrive anywhere.
That's true.
Indie games to me are not. I mean, as a general rule, they're not big sellers. They're not money makers. They're not console sellers, and they certainly don't keep systems alive.
You know what though? I'm gonna actually support something that Uber said here a little bit.
User has disconnected.
I know, right? I think I feel like, and correct me if you guys feel differently, but I feel like the target market for the Switch is probably like 6 to 10 years old, as far up as maybe like 15 to 16, like middle to early high schoolers, high schoolers possibly.
My instinct is saying around lower teens, sure. Yeah.
So I have a 15-year-old in my house, and he has a smartphone, and he plays all of these like crazy ass like mobile games, and he's always asking me for money to buy this and buy that, and it's always like onesie twosie, $3, $4, $5 stuff. I feel like if they do it right, those indie games are kind of akin to mobile small cell phone games, and if they, you see what I'm trying to drive at here, like
so you're trying to say that Uber bought a $400 cell phone gaming console.
Hey, you know what? That doesn't sound that crazy. I mean, honestly, that's not that crazy of a thought, because mobile gaming is pretty big.
It is.
It is. It absolutely is.
And I mean, you want to talk about, like, you know, indie games have done something like Rocket League, I guess, would be called classed as an indie game, would it not?
Yeah. Disc
like Rezo,
Jam.
Disc Jam, I haven't got no experience or really anything to say about it. I haven't, but never played it. Resogun that came out with the PS4, that was a damn fun game. But yeah, it's not a console, so I know about a PS4 to play Resogun.
Yeah.
Know about a PS4. I shouldn't say that. There were probably not a lot of people that bought a PS4 just to play Rocket League either. But my thing about indie games is, how many games do we get in a month, 2 to 3, with PlayStation Plus, and how many of those are the Rocket League or are Disc Jam or are Resogun or any like that
few and far between.
Yeah, that are more than just I'll play this for maybe 4 or 5 days if you're at most. I mean, I usually download them and delete them.
Yeah,
so
a lot
I
of them
can
are throwaway.
Yeah, I can get them later if I'm bored out of my skills.
But again, you're not. You're in your 30s, 40s.
I'm in my 40s.
You're
Not
not
the,
14.
not the target audience is what you're saying.
You
No,
know what I
but
mean? Yeah,
still.
you're not 14.
But still, indie games, there's a lot of people. I mean, you talk to chatter on like the PlayStation Plus subreddit. Some people, they announce the games, and like there's a large group of people that freak out. Oh, great! I can't wait. This is free. They get all excited. There is an indie game market, but as a gamer, like that's one thing that bothers me with Nintendo. They always seem to try to have that niche market. And the gimmick is one thing with the last 2 consoles, and now 3 because of the Switch is the gimmicky side of it. If Nintendo went back to their roots and made an actual full-on console, they already have handhelds. They already have a 3DS, 3DS XL. Why didn't they just make a Nintendo 3DS triple XL and make a handheld that's
4DS.
Well,
my
question would be, if they're going to go down that road, why don't they just release a Nintendo tablet?
Well, or same thing, yeah. Why didn't they just make a Nintendo tablet? But I understand being able to connect it to your TV. That's fine. But I mean, Nintendo, I don't know. It's like a kid console. But the biggest, I mean, I know maybe that's their demographic, but to me, it just seems like they're just throwing a huge gaming community to the side by just appealing to like such a small market. I mean, like gaming's a $1 billion business. And I mean, like you said, how the big Fortune 500 companies like EA, I mean, yeah, okay, they're getting FIFA, but from what I heard, it's a PS3 ported version. How old is Skyrim?
Now, let me ask you guys something. Now,
Sure.
Nintendo, obviously, they have resources. I mean, it's a big company.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Technically, there's nothing that would stand in their way to build a console comparable with the computing power of a PS4.
Certainly.
Why do you guys think they don't do that?
I don't know.
Like, my thing is, I almost think they don't feel like they can compete in that market at this stage in the game. So I feel like they're not trying to compete with that particular market, and maybe they're trying to take a different angle.
I don't know. I feel like from a business standpoint that Nintendo does have the resources, and this is my argument. If I had been in the room with the drawing board when they're designing a new console, the things that they would want to do, I would say that it's time, or that it was time, for Nintendo to come out of the kiddie corner and say, yeah, we're still going to have our Mario and our Zelda and all of our little mini games for kids and all that stuff, and we're going to support indies like we always have. But for Nintendo to purposefully release another console aimed towards the lower age bracket, I feel like that's a mistake. I feel like they bottlenecked themselves, and the last 2 consoles, while they sold at least the Wii sold spectacularly, they are, for all intents and purposes, they were gimmicks, and they were aimed at a very, very specific crowd. Now, when you do that, you limit your business. I feel like with Nintendo's resources, they could have came out with a powerful, capable console at a decent price. Or even, if they charged a little bit more, if it was able to do the same things as a PS4, if you take a PS4, slap a Nintendo name on it, and you give it the Nintendo exclusives, that would sell. I promise
Certainly.
you.
Oh, yeah.
And they could have asked a little bit more and even given it the functionality of a Switch. Like they could have added that part in.
Yeah. Like they could have gone a route to say that we are going to compete. We're going to take on Microsoft, and we're going to take on Sony, and we're going to build a powerful console. And once we have the base of a powerful console, when you say that there's no reason not to have a Switch because you can still get, with a powerful console, the third-party support. That, I think, is what majorly holds developers back, is that the console's underpowered. They have to, as you just said verbatim, is they have to put an inferior product out there, a lesser version of their product on a Nintendo console. And that, as a developer, would be a problem if I was a developer.
I mean, we've seen it, right? It hasn't worked. I mean, they tried it with the Wii, the sports games, the FIFAs, and they were just terrible. They stopped doing them because it just didn't work.
So if you've got in a hypothetical scenario, you're in the market, you're in a store, and you see an Xbox, a PS4, and a Nintendo, whatever the console would have been named, even if you call it the Switch, it's fine. But if they all have similar computing power, memory, if they all have similar things, not even exactly the same, just in the ballpark, because the Switch is not. It's not even close. But if they were all similar in price, in power, in capability, and you have Nintendo, like Xbox has its exclusives, right? It has its console sellers. It has Gears of War. It has Halo, among other things. Those are, real big ones. And you've got the PS4, which has Uncharted, now Horizon Zero Dawn, Last of Us. There's, each console has its particular franchises that are exclusive. If Nintendo was competing in every category and it had its still exclusives, its strong stuff like Zelda and Mario and all those big sellers that they do, I would have no podcast information to talk about.
No.
That would be competing in every way, and it would still have the extra selling point of the Nintendo first party.
And the thing with Nintendo always seems to come back to this nostalgia. Oh, it's Zelda.
Yep.
Oh, it's Mario. But that's it. If it wasn't for those first parties, Nintendo would have got out of the console business and gone to straight, basically handheld with Pokemon, because that's their other bread and butter. I mean, without those, where would Nintendo be? No third party's gonna go through the trouble now. Well, still the problem with porting games is still an issue in 2017 for PCs. Stuff going from console creators to PCs and vice versa. There's porting issues all over the place. So add Nintendo hardware on top of that. So now there's going to be, it's got to be ported from PC or PS4 to Xbox to PC to Switch to they're just adding another level of difficulty for developers to want to develop for another console that's not the same. It's not like you're going, I'm x86 architecture for PCs and Xbox and and PS4 now whatever the architecture that Nintendo builds on. So it adds another level of difficulty on top of the fact that everything has to work with everything.
That's a big thing I worry about.
Yeah, that's a big point.
Yeah, I mean, it can be I'm not, like I said, the console for your Zeldas and Marios, and if you're a big fan of playing like crazy little indie games, that market's going to thrive. And I'm not going to say that but we've seen the longevity of the Wii fall away and the Wii U fall apart. Yeah, they sold a shitload of Wii's, sorry. They sold a shitload of those. And I mean, but everyone that pretty much bought one has fucking sold it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a novelty item almost, even for, the kids loved it, okay, and then the adults, it was something that, we haven't seen in the gaming, hemisphere. So it's wow, that's perfect for drinking games and parties, and, that was kind of a thing for a while, but I'm sure everybody got burned out on it rather quickly. And, I had one. I had a Wii the day it came out, and, I liked it. And then 2 months later, I'm like, okay, now what? Now what I'm going to do? I remember playing, what was the game? Was it Mafia or something on the Wii? And it was just horrendous. It was like the one grown-up title they had at the time, and I tried to play it, and you're trying to aim the gun at the screen, and it was just horrible. And it was like, oh, wow, time to get a PS3.
Well, trying to get an actual gaming console. So let's go on with a couple other topics, and this is the one that Baker put on the thing, and it's one that we mentioned last time, was the potential to scratch the glass putting it in the dock. I mean, that's a big design flaw.
Yes. Yeah. So kind of little backstory here. I picked up my Switch, played with it. It came out on a Friday. Played with it over the weekend. Honestly, didn't dock it a whole bunch. I mean, probably less than a handful of times. I played it in the handheld mode, and I kind of had it sitting out for most of the weekend, then charged it. So I probably docked it 3 or 4 times. Then I kind of went on YouTube and kind of, because a couple days go by after launch of every console, and then you kind of want to see, okay, so what are some issues people are having? I didn't have any at that point. I kind of looked it up, and scratching glass when docking the tablet seemed to be right on the top of the YouTube rage list. Watching a handful of videos of people just screaming at the thing, and it's just it looked terrible, and that made me realize, wow, because cell phones these days are pretty scratch resistant, right? Like, I don't even put I'm not a big fan of screen protectors, and I don't even put one on my cell phone anymore, and I'm pretty rough with it, and if I clean it off with a little lint-free cloth towel, I don't have any scratches on it. It looks nice. And I guess the Gorilla screens are what helps that case. And for them to not put a Gorilla screen on their device, I mean, I can't even apologize for that. That's ridiculous to me, because they market it as a console you're taking everywhere you go, right? I mean, the trailers you saw, people have it in their gym bag, and they're on the train, and now they're here, now they're there. They take it everywhere they go.
Exactly.
That to me, that's ridiculous to have a plastic screen. That's a huge design flaw, in my opinion, and I don't know why they did it. Cost, maybe. I mean, would that have driven up the price even more? But yeah, the screen protector is a must, and I put it on right after I watched some of those rage videos. I don't know what to say about that. It's just a design flaw, plain and simple.
And the other question that I had that I was going to ask, and I didn't put it down, but what about, like, it was one thing that I had seen people could talk and complain a bit, was when you dock the tablet, there's no, like, tactile feel. It just kind of sits in the slot like it's just sitting there. Is that weird?
It is a little
Okay. Because, like I said, I was with another video. Someone had made a comment about, like, setting it in. It just feels like you're just setting it in a dish. It's not like it's like
right. It has two little plastic prongs that kind of latched into the tablet, I guess, the handheld. But they don't really lock on or anything. It's just basically two guides of kind of telling you, okay, you're in the right direction here. It'll only go in one way. I mean, you can't really dock it down the other way. But yeah, it just kind of flops around in there, which, I'm sure we're going to talk about the dock a little bit more, but the dock is rather cheap. I mean, you just feel, everything else feels pretty solid. Even the little, the Joy-Cons, I know people are having issues with those, but as a whole, they feel quality. They feel, pretty heavy, pretty sturdy.
Okay.
The dock itself just feels like a cheap, plasticky shell, and that was pretty surprising to me, because everything else felt pretty solid.
Yeah, Nintendo's always seemed to have a decent, mark for having quality.
Yeah, the material.
You're not known to you're not known to buy a Nintendo and have a thing just crumble apart in your hands after a week. But yeah, I've seen the teardown of the dock. It's like, basically it's like a USB hub or some shit. There's not much to it. It seems pretty like they scrimped a lot on the material.
They really
for the
did.
dock.
I mean, it's really just a thin plastic. I mean, cheap grade plastic shell, and it's not. I don't think it's very appealing to the eyes either. It's not very, the thing as a whole doesn't look great, right? But neither does a PS4 Pro. So I mean, I got one of those sitting here, and I'm looking at it, and it looks just like, really 2017. Like, it's just, it's kind of ugly.
Yeah, who cares? Who cares what it looks? Who cares what it looks like?
Yeah.
It's a PS4 Pro.
You know what though? When you turn the PS4 Pro on,
You're
all
right.
those feelings
You
go
are
away.
absolutely right.
When you turn the switch on, it's like, really, man?
You're
It's
absolutely
2017.
And you look down at the tablet, and it's only 720p. My phone
there's that.
Yes.
1080.
I mean, once again, the price point though,
Yes.
$299 compared to $700 for your cell phone, probably.
My cell phone costs me nothing.
Right. You know what though? If I'm in an emergency on the side of the road, I can't call AAA on my Switch. So, I mean, there's a
Good
difference.
point. Yeah.
Like, does the Switch have
Well,
GPS? Does it
yeah.
receive signals from outer space? Like, I feel like we're talking apples and oranges.
Yeah,
with the cell phone Switch here.
that's a fair point.
Yeah, if we want to get into that territory, actually, cell phones are much more functional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do a
Can your
lot
Switch
more
run
these days.
Doom? I can run Doom.
True.
On my,
I did my taxes on my phone this year.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
So speaking of phones, one of the other points that we have on here is having to use your cell phone to chat with your friends and create an account for Nintendo. So let's talk about the decision that Nintendo made to take another function out that competing consoles do have, an in-game chat or an in-game way to interact with friends. You know, you browse your PSN account, make changes to stuff like that. You can't do any of that in the Switch. So how does that feel, having to get on your phone to do that?
Not great. I can't lie to you, not great. The whole friend code thing is ridiculous, right? I mean, it's like you're punching in somebody else's social security number. It's horrible. Honestly, I'm shocked at that too. 2017, right? In a world that we live in these days, where connectivity is everything, for being connected with your friends, I mean, Sony's making a huge emphasis on this, right? I mean, you look at the interface they have, and it's all about what your friends are playing, what they're doing, what they're sharing, the comments they're doing.
Yep.
You know, they're coming around to all of that, and for Nintendo not to have that in on their infrastructure is quite disappointing, honestly. Granted, Nintendo's never really been, online multiplayer kind of console experience ever. And for what I use it for, I play Zelda with my son here in the living room. We don't really use it for that. But not having the ability, that's a whole nother thing. That it's sad to me that honestly that they don't. And I mean, I'm hoping they would have that sometime down the road here. But for them not to have it at launch, it's disappointing, because to me that's a selling point. I mean, they could have. That's honestly something you could sell people on, right? Being connected with your friends, and especially when you're on the go. I don't know. I'm disappointed in that. I can't. Once again, I can't really defend Nintendo over that one.
Yeah. So I'm not sure right now at launch if there's multiplayer titles, but
there's a couple.
Let's give a hypothetical scenario then. So you're on the go on your tablet version of the Switch. You're on a train, as the commercials show. Although the train, crowd, I feel is not who they're aiming the Switch at. But anyways,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Like it's not really the demographic. The kids are not on the train. Anyways, so how would you go about inviting or getting an invite from somebody to play a multiplayer game on your tablet version?
Well, how would you? You have to have Wi-Fi first.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
There's no.
So there's no internet other than Wi-Fi that you connect with
Correct.
the tablet version.
So I mean, you would have to. I mean, you would have to jump through some hoops.
You'd have to like have
make
your
it a
cell phone
hotspot,
on.
and then granted,
Make it a
your connection
hotspot.
speed's probably not going to be that great.
and then they have to text you an invite, or
I'm
vice
not even
versa?
sure how this works. I have one game that's a multiplayer game, and it is very, very bare bones. I have this game called Fast RMX, and it's kind of like an F-Zero type of racing game.
Yeah, with Mario Kart coming out, that's going to be
Right.
one of the bigger, So that's going to be one that's going to be a challenge for people to find people to race with. If this, having to use your phone and connect, and then if the demographic is kids, okay, I know most of the day and age now most kids have cell phones, but still, it's the fact that you have to have that cell phone there, charged, and able to use it to not only chat with your friends, but to to use that to create your account initially.
It's very cumbersome. I mean,
But
you're not going to want to have a handheld game. I mean, the thing is pretty big, and then you have a cell phone in the other hand chatting with your. I mean, it's just the whole logistics of it just doesn't make sense.
And am I correct? I haven't heard anything about this particular point, but while we're on it, is there capability for voice chat?
I don't think
in any
so.
way.
I think there's. Is there not a way to plug in? Yeah, is there not a?
There's a headphone jack. I mean, we have a
jack and-
headphone jack, but I don't.
but
Well,
just
headphones is one thing, but
But
a
just not a
headset with
Yeah, I
microphone.
don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
just scrolling through the menus, I
You have to
haven't
use your
seen
phone.
any.
You have to use your phone. You have to use your what do you call that? Your earbuds and microphone set up on your cell phone to do voice chat.
But what I'm saying is I haven't heard of anything about
Yeah,
voice
true,
chat
yeah,
at all.
True. Yeah, we never.
I
Not even
don't
mentioned.
think it exists, but I may be wrong. But in all my,
Well,
the
'cause
Fast
that's-
RMX game I've played online, and it just shoots you in a random lobby with people, and you just play. Never once have I heard someone's mic or mic sound or anything like that. So I don't think it's even possible. I'm not 100% sure, but
Oh,
Damn.
yeah,
that's even worse than I
mean
thought.
that
then.
Yeah.
That's not a point that I've even thought of, but again, that's because I've never heard it mentioned. And we were just talking about, if you're going to be on your phone and do this and do that and chatting with friends. Chatting now it's a standard to have voice chat capability. So,
You have to get
man.
all, you have to get all
yeah,
your
and that's
friends
just
in
adding
the
another
TeamSpeak
step.
chat room.
That's like you don't. It's cumbersome.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Well, and talking on another thing too is there's no cloud
No,
storage
there's
or
not.
anything, is there?
There's nowhere to save other than
There's
onto the
nothing.
console itself. Which is
Ugh.
guys are hammering me here.
This is a point that one of the big shocking things, and it's on our list for tonight, is the fact that you
Right.
can't back up your
Right.
saves.
Yes.
Like that to me is, I mean, that hopefully that's a firmware fix that came up with it. But everything that we kind of talking about, and there's one other thing I'm going to mention in a second is almost like, oh well, we'll just get the console out, and then we can do firmware fixes to get everything up where everyone's complaining about. Well, I mean, you can't fix the glass problem, but I mean, I figure they can do firmware for a lot of the small incidentals, like being able to allow to export your save games, or maybe they'll eventually have a cloud system,
Right.
or one thing along those lines. But another point that's on the list here, and I know as of right now, there's no media apps, no Netflix,
Yeah,
etc. I think
certainly.
there's something coming, but there's they launch with no options, so it's a game. It launches as a gaming only. You can't even like pull up. Like,
And that's
Netflix
very
and watch
disappointing.
anything on
Netflix
it,
to me, that's the one thing that should come preloaded on almost any mobile device at this day and age, right? And I mean, the thing is great. I mean, that's kind of why I love the Switch. When I want to travel, I'll be able to play something a little bit more complex than a cell phone game or a smartphone game on the go, on an airplane or whatnot. Now, having Netflix would be huge,
Yeah. Well, that's the point I was going to bring up, is that a lot of people either have a cell phone. I mean, that's pretty much a given, but a lot of people do
Right.
also have tablets, and tablets are a big market. And they're able to do more and more as time goes on. So they're very advanced right now. So if you're traveling, we're now talking about the cumbersome of having a Switch so you can play, your Switch tablet so you can play your games. But yeah, being extremely limited in every way with that thing, to where you can't watch anything. You'd have to have your tablet out as
Right.
well to watch Netflix. So as far as being mobile and on the go and everything, they try to make it seem, with the marketing at least, that it's like an easy thing and it's so convenient. But it's only convenient if you don't want to play with friends, if you don't want to chat with friends, if you don't want to, like I said, play with friends, play games. That's a big thing. But also, like, if you wanted to browse the internet, if you wanted to watch anything, updates on anything, like it's got none of the functionality and connectivity of any other device out there. It's got none of that. So as far as being convenient, like, yeah, you can carry it around, but it's no more convenient than having a cell phone
Right.
that has no internet
that's true.
access.
But it's got Zelda.
But it's got, and this is Nintendo's line that they will have on their tombstone when they stop making. But it's got Zelda.
Well, and we're gonna. And I mean, like I said, I know we brought you here to defend it, and I mean, we've been kind of making a lot of the hard points that are they're kind of undefendable. And I mean, at least you're not sitting there, and you're not throwing out. I mean, the Zelda comment was funny, but you're not throwing out. Well, oh, it's coming.
see
You're not
it.
throwing
I
out
mean-
like blanket ass. I mean, at least you understand like where we're coming from. Yeah, we ripped hard and we shit on the Switch, but we understand that there's people out there, and there's a market. I mean, they sold 1.5
Right.
million consoles. That's one thing we're going to bring up. They,
Yeah.
you know, they sure as hell didn't sell 1 million in
Right.
24
But, you know,
hours that the PS4 did.
To me, a
You know.
person like me who has a PS4, who enjoys the games. I mean, I enjoy the games that I have on my PS4 for a certain reason. For those people that are fortunate enough to get this alongside of their home console, I think it's a fine thing to have. But at the same time, I mean, talking to you guys now, and you made some great points there. Tablets are so advanced these days. Taking it on the go, it is. I can't say that it's a better experience than having a tablet right now. I mean, there's so much you can do with a tablet if you were to travel. And
Other than
yeah.
the fact that you have Zelda.
Yeah, that's
And once
the
you're
only
done
selling
with
point
Zelda
right now,
and
for me at least.
the indie games, to me, I mean, the only other plus, I think, the control.
Well, let's
go
go ahead.
You're not gonna lug around. I mean, smartphones and stuff and tablets, it's all touchscreen based. Control input really. So having controllers, that'll I'm reaching here, I know, but that helps. It helps.
You mean additional objects to carry around? Yeah, good point.
Yeah, for portability and convenience, carry more stuff.
So here's I gotta ask you a question. Hypothetical situation. Actually, it's probably not even a hypothetical situation. Somewhere in the world right now, there's a kid who wants his first gaming device. And he's going to take his mom or dad or his guardian or whomever. He's going to take them into a GameStop or a Best Buy or a Fry's or wherever they're going to go to get this thing. And he's going to see a Switch, an Xbox One, and a PS4. And they're all going to be similarly priced. Now, if you're a salesperson, it's your job to inform the customer of all of the features and functions of these items,
Right.
and then let them make. I mean, this is in a perfect world.
Yeah.
To let them make an educated decision. How are you gonna sell
Yeah,
them a
no.
Switch?
It's got Zelda.
Because right, and the kid may go, yeah, I want to Switch because Mario. But then as a parent, I'm gonna ask, well, can I? Because I'm thinking like a parent, like, all right, if I get
Yeah.
my kid this thing, can he browse the internet on it? Can he watch YouTube on it? Can he watch Netflix on it? What else can he do with this? Because the other two have been around long enough where I know, like, I can plug my cable feed into an Xbox One and use
Right.
it as a freaking DVR for Comcast. I can get like television cable viewing service on the PS4. I can do all these other things. Like, how are
Now,
you gonna?
Do you want your
justify
kid doing all
spending
those
that?
things? That's the other question. Maybe, I mean, perhaps Nintendo's they restrict it
Well,
for a reason. I mean, maybe.
Well, we're talking about restricting functionality and features.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about parental safety and control.
Yeah, I mean, taking out content,
Gotcha.
it's more of a availability
Well,
versus because I have an answer for the other question as well.
Let me kind of add this into it too. I mean, it's kind of hijacking the question a little bit. When you look at what was available for PS4 and Xbox One at launch versus what's available for the Switch at launch, do you think the Switch was
Yeah, I
rushed
would
and
say
released
yes.
early?
Absolutely. I would say so.
Okay.
Because, I mean, even me,
Okay.
I mean, I play a lot of different games. I dabble in them, but
He's going to return to Switch, guys. I think
yeah, there's not much. I mean, honestly, I bought one to Switch, and I mean, what a waste of money. $50 for this thing. I mean, that should have been included with the console, right? I mean, that should have been
Because,
the game
like-
included. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
right,
yeah.
right,
Much like
exactly.
like
even
Get
the
Started.
PSVR
Yeah,
had its
exactly.
own little startup disc, and so no, I agree.
Yeah.
It probably was rushed. I think they should have worked on some of the design flaws, and then obviously just built up their launch lineup a little bit. I mean, I would have been fine waiting for it for another year and just kind of get all the I mean, to me, it's insane that the scratching of the screen alone that just boggles my mind every time you would think a
Yeah.
company as big as Nintendo would have done the R&D. I mean, to at least dock the thing 30 times. I mean, just have somebody in a room Just take it out of the dock and put it back into the dock. Just 40 times. I mean, it would take an hour and notice, like, okay, this is an issue, you know? I mean,
Yeah. Even if they set it up in like a break room,
right,
look, guys,
right.
every time you go in there, get a cup of coffee.
Use
put
the
that
thing
in
for a
dock,
month
take it
and
out,
let's see how
let
it
me know
looks.
if
You know,
anything
take it
happens.
everywhere. And I mean, to me, that's insane. I can't defend that. And no, I wouldn't. If I worked in one of those stores and somebody would come in right now, and I'm gonna, you know, not narrowing it down to a kid and his mom or you know, or his caretaker, anybody. Yeah, I probably.
Well,
I mean,
anybody. The argument applies for
you
anybody.
guys gonna get really mad at me for this, but I would probably recommend an Xbox One. At this right now,
Are you fucking high?
I would.
Why? Why?
User is disconnected.
Having
Yeah.
the consumer in mind, EA access to me, that to me is an X factor here with Xbox One. And trust me, I just picked one up. I mean, I've been PS3, PS4 through the generations, and
Right.
you know, and I
okay.
still think that
I get that. But what?
the console exclusives are better on on Sony, on PlayStation. I still
I'll buy buy a
but
fucking
the
$1,000.
EA access to me, and now obviously they're launching this other service, but you know, those are older titles and stuff. But for somebody that doesn't have a lot of money and wants to play as many games as possible right out of the gate, the Xbox One offers more of that right now.
I have to say, unbiased here, you know, all of us, the three of us, myself, work in Panther, we're all Sony fanboys, of course, but I do have to say that I am always been envious of the back catalog support that Xbox has. So I have to put another point in his category for that.
I was gonna bring that the backwards compatibility is another point.
That
but
is another point.
The fact that the PS3 architecture
Yeah.
was a fucking monstrosity
Yeah.
is why there's no backwards compatibility, because to emulate and then play the game, the PS4 wouldn't do it. And I mean, that's been
Yeah,
long
well, I
discussed.
think it's a shame that they had to learn that lesson the hard way, because now it would be really hard to go back.
Now you gotta pay for PS Now, and I don't know what that service is like, but I know you can play your old games.
It's decent.
like
I've had the
streaming
trial for it.
service. Okay, yeah. So you had the streaming service, which is not as nice as as probably as having the force to be having a streaming service for your back catalog. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I made the joke about you being high, but I understand your points of access, backwards compatibility as a gamer, right? But like I said, if it comes down to needing the availability of games ready to shoot.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends what you're there for, right? To buy the console and what you're looking to get. Like, to me, Uncharted alone is worth the console. I mean, I just buy it just for Uncharted. I'm a baseball fan. MLB The Show is the other reason. I mean, I would never not have a PS4 or a PlayStation product because of those. And if, the kid comes in and he's all decked out in baseball gear and he's into that, I would be like, hey, man, PlayStation, you can't go wrong here, But if it's somebody that says, okay, I want to play as many games as possible for the least amount of money right now, what should I get? I'm already shelling out $300-$400 for this thing. I'd probably... And then the only other thing with Xbox that I do enjoy, and, like I said, I'm fairly new to the platform. The Elite controller is very, very amazing. It's very nicely done. And I really hope Sony comes out with something comparable. I know there's third-party ones, but I just want Sony to come out with something like this.
Yeah, I've heard good things about the Elite controller. I don't know a lot about it personally because I don't have an Xbox.
Yeah,
but...
I played a lot of Xbox 360, and
I
don't
too.
dislike the PlayStation controller design, but there is something to be said about the ergonomics of an Xbox controller. They do feel very nice.
It took me a while.
And they play very well.
It took me a while from Xbox to when I had an Xbox 360 and a PS3. It was a big. I even bought a third-party PS controller that was like an Xbox controller because I found the controller so small and weird to use. But now, I mean, the PS4 controller is fucking amazing compared to the PS3 one. It's definitely a big step in the right direction. But yeah, I mean, I get your point about Xbox, and like I said, there's still some games on Xbox that I mean, the Halo franchise to me has been fucking beat to death. I mean, I played a shitload of it back into the N360, but
Yeah.
Gears of War is one.
Yeah, but
game I
Halo.
always
I
thought
mean,
was
geez,
kinda
do
fun.
we need another Fast and
know.
Furious?
So,
Do
I
we
mean,
I
need
love
like,
another
fun playing
Halo?
those.
Just like let's bury it. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
All right. Well, let's bury the Xbox here. We're gonna move on. One of the big things now we've touched on several parts of this point, but haven't talked about it yet. The internal storage. This is a big thing for me. So, a lot of the Switch is based on mobility. You can take it and you can play it this way and that way or whatever. But the problem that we're gonna have once it actually has some decent games worth getting. Is that you're going to need to decide whether you want to download this onto the actual console itself, or you want to just take the cartridges. But again, now you're going to have to start carrying these things around.
It
And I
tastes like
understand the
crap.
cartridges are small. Of course they are. But yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
I have a
that-
question on this
Go ahead.
note.
Okay.
I feel like we read that Breath of the Wild is something. What do we think? What do we say it was?
16,
Something
17
like
gigs.
16, 17 gigs installed. Can you install that game off of the cartridge onto the Switch and then play it without that
don't
cartridge
believe so.
in the Switch?
No. I mean,
I
it's
don't think you can. I don't think you
it's
can.
similar
'cause that
to
was-
I don't think you
PS4,
can
really, right? I
install
mean, you
games
either buy the
off-
disc or you buy it in the in the PSN store, but I don't think you can install it.
I don't think you can install.
I mean, it
games
installs
off the
a
cartridge, can you?
a certain portion, just like it would on a disc-based PS4 game. But yeah,
Oh, it does. Okay.
Right.
I thought it played right
Maybe it
off the. I
does,
thought that was a thing.
which,
It played right off the cartridge. Because I know when I was reading an article, and this is another point I want to bring up too, is the cost of games being different depending on the size of the game because of the size of the card. Because the game Rhyme coming out, I know it's the prices I've seen in the article were UK, but it was the game Rhyme that's coming out next month and the month after. It's $10 more because of the size of the disc it has, or the
that's
cartridge it has to be
interesting.
installed.
You know what?
on, 'cause
Maybe
it's
it
a
does
micro
play
SD
right off the cartridge
inside.
because I'm looking at the box right now here. It just plays, yeah.
Because you plug it in, it just plays right away. And I'm thinking when we're talking download is if you purchase it digitally, because one of the games that's coming out, it's like part 1 and part 2 together. It will not even fit on the internal storage of the
Wow.
of the Switch
Yeah.
out of the box at 32 gigs.
Well, the deal is like, if it installs a portion of the game, why? I know
don't
we
think-
talked
Yeah.
about this
I don't
last
think- yeah.
podcast.
We
like,
did.
why?
We touched.
Splash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would it install some of it if it plays
maybe it
directly
doesn't.
off the cartridge?
I don't think it does. I think we were confused by the way the article was written because we got it from was saying Breath of the Wild is this big. But I think that's if you buy it digitally.
Yeah, well, and that's why I'm asking the question
Yeah.
because I don't know if there's a way that you can like
Well, yeah, that's
look into
important
the Switch
'cause-
settings and see if if you can look at your storage and see if the Zelda game takes up
Might just do that
20%
right
of
now.
your storage or something.
Yeah.
That was more of a curiosity thing than
Okay.
anything.
Well, check on that. But to finish my question is, with the marketing standpoint of this being extremely portable and mobile, if you've got more than 1 or 2 games, you're not going to be able to fit it digitally on it, right? So you're going to have to start carrying around these cartridges, similar to the days of Game Boy.
Yeah,
How
I
is
mean,
this a
I
positive
agree with
design
you there.
choice?
The other thing, I can't. No, it's another L.
It's not going very
There's
well
another
for you
L.
here.
I think we're like
I
6
agree
to
with
1
you.
right now.
And
Or
then,
for the
you know,
Switch, rather.
Uber.
Sure.
Let me stop. Let me stop you for a second. Did we not invite you on here to defend the Switch?
defend, convince. I don't know what you guys are doing, but
One of us.
that is
One
an
of
issue.
us.
And the other thing we're talking about, apps. Hopefully in the future, Netflix. I mean, I would hope there's some kind of music app, Spotify or whatever. And those kind of apps, or maybe YouTube, those kind of apps pride themselves onto offline viewing or listening. Like Spotify, if you have a membership, you can listen to the music offline. So I can download a bunch of albums I like,
Yep.
go on the airplane and listen to
I have
them
one.
offline. Now, 32 gigs is not a whole ton of storage, and even you put a micro SD card in, I mean, they're not cheap, and you're gonna have to put a pretty big one in there. to store a movie on, for example.
Well, that's one of the points that we touched on last time, and that was kind of the direction I was heading. Is that if you don't want to if you want to get around the issue of carrying around, half a dozen cartridges of your games that you want to play, if you want to try to go the route of downloading them digitally, you're going to have to shell out another $100 to get a
Right.
decent size one, $70 to $100. We actually looked at the prices currently for those micro SD cards, and yeah, I think for a 64 gig it was like
Wow.
50,
Yeah.
60, $70 depending on the brand. So yeah, the price of another game, and this is a generation problem that we haven't had for
Right.
2 gaming generations now. We're talking about PS2
Valid.
and Xbox
That's valid.
days.
I just looked at the storage, by the way, to get back to you guys on that. And I bought Zelda, the cartridge version,
Yeah.
and it looks like it's taking up 216 megabytes of storage. So I'm assuming that's just save files and stuff. Yeah.
Save file.
That's your save file, I
That's
guess.
probably
Pretty
a save
big.
file, yeah. Which
Okay.
that's a pretty
Right.
big save
No, that
file.
is.
Yes,
but
it
that's
is.
usually in the
Tossing that out
kilobytes,
there.
right? Or low megabytes. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I
yeah.
was,
So
you know,
216
expecting less
megabytes
than
for
20.
Zelda,
Yeah.
and I did buy Fast RMX from the eShop, and that's sitting at just under a gig here at 835 megabytes. So, and it's not a very deep game. So, I mean, I would imagine some of the bigger game titles to be, take up half of the storage. And it looks like I have 24 gigs remaining on my system memory. So, I mean, the software itself takes up quite a bit too. It looks like, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, the OS. Right?
Yeah, it does.
But here's another thing too. I mean, the Switch, we made a comment before about about having, the portable storage, and I had comments on Reddit. I made an offhanded cuff of shitting on the Switch on the Nintendo Switch subreddit. I like to live dangerously, and the guy come back and he's talking about prices of micro SD cards, and like I said, I the day we'd done the podcast, I just quick Google searched it to come up bestbuy.ca in Canada, and it was like $100 for 128 gig card. And I mean, yeah, if you want to shop around, I wasn't really in the mood to shop around. I wasn't looking to buy one, but you can get them on Amazon for anywhere from like $50 to $60. But still, that's 128 gigs. I mean, I have a 32 gig, USB stick that I
Right.
paid like half of that price for. Why wouldn't Nintendo go with a USB? Because you can, you
Well,
still have to carry on
like
USB
I understand, I'm
cards.
going with micro SD.
I get to a point.
for
I mean,
size.
it's
Well-
definitely convenient, but still, and then you got
Thickness.
So do I as well, but my way around that, what I think they should have done is built in more
Yes.
memory to the
Yeah.
tablet, because that's what
I
everything
agree.
plays
It's
off of,
32
right?
gigs
That's the
in
home
2017,
thing, right?
right? My
That's
toaster
nothing.
has more than that.
and the challenge
Like
I'm
it's-
wondering is if you make if you make the mistake, okay, you see, oh, this game's on the eStore, so I want to download it. And if you make the mistake of not having your micro SD card in there, and you download it to the internal storage, and also your internal storage is full, can you then? We don't know. Can you then transfer that to a micro SD card? Oh, I downloaded to the wrong
That's a heck
source.
of a
Can
question.
I move the
Good
game
question.
files? That's another question I had, because I mean, if you install, I imagine if you can always delete it and reinstall it, but because once you buy the game, it should be like any other digital content you own, and as long as you own your licensing or your console, whatever. So that's another thing too. Is, oh shit, I downloaded to the internal storage, now it's full, so I got to go back here so card, move it or re-download it. That's another issue I think that can potentially come from having only 32 gig. Why wasn't it 64 gigs? It doesn't take up any more physical room inside
Yeah.
the machine.
Or even 128.
Yeah.
You can get a Microsoft Surface Pro that's no thicker than a Switch
Yeah.
with 250 gig
Yeah.
solid state in it.
Yeah.
I understand that it would have driven the price up to a point, but I don't feel like 64 or even 128
Yeah,
shouldn't
they
have
should
driven
Well,
have
the
that
been
price.
able-
the price on Amazon when we looked at the last podcast, the price difference between 64 and
Right.
128 was, I think, $40.
Yeah, well, and that's buying an individual card. If
Yeah.
Nintendo's doing this in millions of units at a time,
And
I'm
they're-
sure
and
they
they're being-
could probably
yeah,
get that
and-
difference
and
down to
they're being-
$5.
And they're probably being built in the plant next door in Japan anyway, so
Right.
just-
You could just walk them across.
yeah, just
save
walk
a ton on
across the
shipping.
street. So yeah, so like I said, there's definitely been some, I think, design and implementing choices that seem to be lacking in a console.
I
So
agree.
it's,
Yeah.
are you going quiet? Are you posting your Switch on?
I'm looking at it right now, just kind of pitying it now. But I agree with all.
It's going, man. If you could only
I
hear
agree
what
with
these
everything you guys
about
are saying for the most part here. Like I said, if this is your first console, if this is the only gaming experience you have at home, it might not be optimal. I mean, it might not be the one to get. You know what I mean? I mean, you might just be better off getting a tablet even, if you're looking at in the mobile market. But you know, it depends what you're into, what kind of games you're into, and stuff like that. But I agree. I mean, 32 gigs is terrible. The plastic screen, that's not very good. The kickstand is, although a lot of the material is of good quality, the kickstand and the dock are of terrible quality, which, the only thing I keep going back to is price point. I guess they must have tried to keep the price somewhat in the ballpark of $300.
Well, my question would be, what the hell is driving the price up if it's got all these features missing? I bought a tablet 4 months ago for my girlfriend's birthday, and I spent $150 on it, and it's got more memory, it's got a bigger screen than the Switch tablet, and it has all the functionality that I could ever want.
You can't play Zelda.
Okay, well. But I mean, I'm being dead serious though.
I know. So yeah,
it does everything else.
Right.
So for $150, I've got a more powerful, more convenient, more functional item.
True.
Over and above just playing games. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I don't know. That's I guess my ultimate question that most of my points have been going for is the price. Is what the hell is making this that price?
There's other stuff that we haven't even gotten into.
Yeah, sure.
Wow. A lot of other stuff. But yeah, I mean, I mean, like when you come on here, I didn't think we were going to just this was going to be as negative as it turned out to be.
Yeah, let's Uber, hit us with something that we haven't talked about. Hit us with a positive here.
Okay.
Give us a shining light here.
I'm going to sell you guys an HD Rumble. High definition Rumble.
What?
Oh yeah.
What is that?
That is the Ice Cube in the controller in the Joy-Cons. Okay, I'll give you a couple positives. No, the HD Rumble is good. I mean, 1-2 Switch has this game where you take the Joy-Cons off. Each person gets one of the Joy-Cons, and you are guessing how many little metal, almost like metal marbles, metal balls are in your Joy-Con, and you tilt it and they roll down. It's gravity based, so they roll in the direction you tilt it.
Yeah.
To me, that felt amazing. Like, it was very, very accurate. I was shocked. I mean, it literally felt like there were little balls inside the controller, which is pretty amazing. And sure, I mean, it's gimmicky. It's a novelty thing. But, I mean, I think it could be implemented with other games in some capacity. It is very precise. I mean, I was very shocked by that. And going back to the price point, I think those Joy-Cons is what drives the price up a bit. I mean, you buy them by itself, they're $70, I think, for the pair, right? $70-$80, and that's American. I mean, Canada's probably $100 for two of those. Yeah, I mean, that's expensive for two. I mean, they're small little controllers, and they're not ideal to play with. I mean, to have as your lone controller of playing like Zelda, for example. But I think that's kind of what brings the price up, having two controllers attached to the console there. The other thing, the Pro controller, I'm not a big fan of the look of it. It doesn't look very good. It looks very it looks very third party. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Third party PC controller kind of gamepad. That's what it looks like to me. But once you put it in your hands, the ergonomics, the design is very, very good. I mean, it feels good, and it feels better than a PS4 controller. It doesn't feel quite as good as the Xbox One Elite controller, but it feels good. I mean, it feels great. I really like it. So the Pro controller is a good positive. Built-in built-in rechargeable battery. That's nice. I don't like that about the Xbox One Pro controller, having to change batteries or putting rechargeables in there. That's a positive. And, the 720 screen, it looks good. I mean, it looks very good. I know.
Yeah,
Right.
it's not a very big
It condenses
surface, so
it to the point
should.
where it looks.
It should, yeah.
It looks good. I mean, I'm okay with it not being 1080. I don't know how.
Well, it looks good under the right circumstances, though. Let me add the caveat in there, because even Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is the flagship thing, this is really the console. So there was the statistic released that 89% of Switch owners bought Zelda as well. So nearly 9 out of 10. Even that, the flagship game, the console selling mega hit that is probably going to be a contender for Game of the Year, even that has its moments where it chugs on the console. And the art in that game is not super high def. I mean, we're talking, it looks like an old PS3 game in some points that I've seen. Now, it plays smooth, but like the artwork is extremely forgiving as far as the memory that it uses. So for their primary game to not play smooth all the time on a very high resolution.
Yes.
I mean, that's worrying right out of the gate, man.
It,
So you can say anything could play at 720. Like that's a point on paper, but the realistic part of what is it playing at 720?
right. I mean,
It's
they did a good
chugging
job at disguising
Zelda at
it
certain
almost,
points.
right? I mean, they did a pretty good job at making it look good.
Yes.
And you're right. I mean, once Netflix and
Yeah.
some video apps come out, it'll be interesting to see how it looks, right? How it compares to like my cell phone screen or like a tablet
Yeah.
or an iPad or a Samsung Galaxy Tab. It's probably not going to be up to snuff with those kind of devices. Yeah.
I imagine not. Yeah.
I mean, 720 on a portable device. I mean, I'm gonna defend a little bit. I mean, yeah, that's. I was surprised at 720 on the screen when you dock and it goes to 1080, but yeah, 720 just seems like they done that for the fact of they knew if they pushed it to 1080 they were gonna have more issues because
Right.
the hardware is not capable. But I mean, resolution is not the biggest thing. At that point, it becomes frame rate, and when
Yeah.
you dock the tablet. I know there was. I don't know if there. I think there's a firmware update coming, but I know there was some people talking, and even like I mentioned last time, Robot's done a live stream, and he was talking about the frame rate drops or lag. Some people refer to playing Zelda in the dock mode. Now playing it in the tablet mode, people say it's smooth as butter and it plays perfect. So transitioning from 720 tablet to 1080 docked, if the game lags on a launch title, what's going to happen down the road with other titles that are ported? Like someone like that's going to scare. I mean, that's like I said earlier, it's going to scare away people from trying to port a game to basically run at 720. If the tablet runs 720, why isn't the output on the TV then 720? Can you switch it? Just get it, switch. Switch it.
I don't
Can you
think
switch
can.
it to 720? On
No,
your,
it just automatically goes to 1080.
there's no options, right? I mean, you're okay. All right, yeah. So you don't have the option to say, well, it's lagging like shit. Let me switch it down to 1080 or 720, so it's
Right.
so it's more like the tablet experience on my TV. Because not everyone has a giant, 4K TV.
Right.
I mean, I play my PS4 on a 24-inch LED monitor, and I mean, so I mean, I'm not playing it on a 60-inch 4K because I don't own one. So, but I mean, yeah, that to me is another issue is the fact that there's already noticeable lag. I know there's a GPU firmware fix coming down the road, but still, I mean, that's another sad point. I mean, I know you give some
Well, that
positives,
is
but
honestly the
here we are
thing that
back again.
worries me the most. Just the computing power of this thing. I feel like that's the sad thing to me. I want Nintendo to do well. I want them to have a good console. And I just feel like they always start out from behind. Like they always start out from this huge deficit and they continue to. Well, yeah, of course. You're right. I mean, they totally
Well,
do.
they do it
and
to
I hate
themselves,
that. Like,
though.
I don't like that. that's the biggest worry I have, that the third party developers, they're just not even going to bother, I don't think. You know what I mean? It's going to be a pain in the butt for them to port a game over that's going to be a lesser of a game that they're not going to be able to show off at E3 or at the. They're not going to want to show it off on a Switch. They're going to want to show it off on a PS4 Pro in 4K on a $3,000 TV. That's where they're going to.
Yep.
You put your best foot forward. And that's the biggest worry I have, honestly, because I'm a sports fan. I'm a sports gaming fan, and I wanna have a non-gimmicky version of FIFA or NBA on my console that I can take everywhere. I mean, I would be ecstatic at that, but I worry that I'm never gonna get that. I worry a little bit that it's just gonna be a little bit toned down, gimmicky version of the title that I love. Which makes it not the title that I love at all. It makes it a whole different game, right?
Yeah.
And I'm right there with you too. I'd love to have Nintendo succeed and make a product
we all would.
that I would want to buy, because, man, excuse me, I grew up playing like Mario. My wife's a big Mario fan, and Mario Kart's a blast. And I get shat on all the time. I never played the Zelda games. But the Breath of the Wild does intrigue me a little bit, because it's more of that style of game that I prefer to play. The action adventure, it's an RPG, but it's got a lot more action adventure to it. And there's some things in that game that look pretty neat and fun. But I can't justify $400 to play one game.
Yep.
So, I myself, whenever I heard Nintendo's coming to a console, I'm thinking, shit, if they come up with something fucking badass, I could have a Nintendo in my house again that I'm not fucking embarrassed by. But they ended up, they're like, oh, well, let's just give everybody this. And some people are gonna think this is the best thing since sliced bread. And all the power to you as a gamer. Like, I like people that have fun and play games, but as a gamer too, I like people to get value for their money. Considering I'd recommend someone to buy an Xbox over this. I
Or
personally.
a tablet.
Yeah, but someone as a gamer, not like just like a mobile gamer.
Yeah.
As like someone who sits down and plays video games. Myself, I would go out and buy an Xbox One S long fucking before I pick up a Switch, and that's saying something. I shouldn't say I hate Microsoft. I can't. I play PC, but I would definitely see the value in buying an Xbox One long before a Switch, and that's kind of strange considering like I said, I grew up on Nintendo.
Yeah. All right. One of the last things that we haven't talked about yet is a very, very head scratching statement from Nintendo in reference to one of the problems people are having are dead pixels in the tablets. Nintendo. What was the exact wording, Panther? Do you remember it? They said it's not a.
It's not a. Well, it was kind of like it's not a flaw.
Defect.
It's not
a defect.
It's
That's
not
the
a
word.
defect.
Defect is the
it's
word.
It's not a defect. It's
not
like
a defect that there are dead pixels on your tablet.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nintendo says Switch dead pixels are, quote, normal, not a defect.
That's ridiculous. No, I have read that. And
is this new information to you? Had you not heard that yet?
I'm just blessed that I don't have dead pixels, but I would be outraged, and I probably wouldn't even have defended it as much as I did if I was one of the victims of a dead pixel, because that pisses me off. For them to come out, I feel like they did that because shit was hitting the fan. A lot of people had dead pixels, and they're thinking, this is going to be a huge recall. Like, this is going to be a huge production to take all these back. Let's let's word it in a way where it's just, it was a lose-lose almost, but they kind of almost went with the worst option, the option B.
Well, I would have rather, absolutely, of them being honest about it and making the recall. That would have been a stronger, more honest, like, have some integrity as a company to say, you know what, we didn't catch that, but we're gonna fix it. That's.
But then the problem is that all your save games are on the console to send back. So
that's true.
If they send you a refurbished version with a non-pixelated screen, then your save game's gone. That's the point I made previous.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, like that's
exactly.
That blows me away.
Yeah, but yeah, for like if you imagine there's a Nintendo repair shop and you walk in, hey, I got a couple
Right.
pixels in here that are
That-
burned out.
that's,
Oh yeah, that's normal.
Nothing will get
Yeah,
gamers
don't
more
worry about it.
outraged than that. I mean, that's not. You don't want to hear that. Like, there's no. It's basically the ultimate fu. Just screw you, pal. You're not getting your money back. You're not getting a new console. Just deal with it. I mean,
Yeah.
that would make me probably chuck it against the wall. I would be pissed, and that's terrible. I mean, yeah.
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 Right.
said a lot.
I mean, that's just a
Sounds a lot
horrible.
like what I said when I
just horrible. Whoever's in the PR department there, that's just who thought that was a good idea.
They probably
Right.
they probably were looking at the cost effectiveness as, if 1.5 million consoles, if even 1%, even if
Still a lot.
0.1%, even if like 0.2%, like that's money they have to.
Oh, big time, yeah.
I mean that's like
No,
the
big
red ring
time.
of death with 360s. That
Yeah.
that cost millions and millions of dollars
True.
for
Yeah.
them to absorb.
Well, they at least
so.
addressed it though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I
Yep,
mean, that's
they-
I think at least a step in the right direction, if not
Right.
a completely proper way to respond as the company to say, okay, well, we're going to
Exactly.
replace it. Now, I know there was a lot of cases where they really dragged their feet. They sent back some product that still wasn't correct. I know people that have, the horror stories that we heard over the years of people being on their 6th and 7th refurb. I
Yep.
mean, obviously stuff like that happened, and that's not the goal. But they were at least refurbishing them. Again, I don't think they handled it perfectly, but certainly
They
better
handled
than
it.
the steps
100%.
Nintendo was taking.
I mean,
They
that,
handled it at
I
least,
like
yeah.
you said. I wonder
Yeah.
if this was just a way of them, because when Nintendo releases a product, supply is very scarce. So for them to like have to replace, oh yeah,
That's
granted,
one-
yeah,
Well,
that's
on
you're right.
purpose. Yeah.
That's
But
another thing.
for them to have to replace 15,000, 30,000, whatever the number is of consoles that they could have sold to new customers, I mean that is a huge dent into their earnings for that quarter, right? And I wonder if
Yeah.
Not
And-
really, but by taking the stance that that's normal and don't worry about it, when word spreads, how many console sales are they going to
Good
lose
point.
by people going, fuck that,
That's
I ain't
what
gonna buy
I
one
was
of
gonna
those,
say,
if that's
yeah.
the stance they're going to take.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you as a long time gamer, like at some point something may come out that would sway me to want to get one
Good
of those.
point.
But as long as that's their stance on Dead Pixels, I will never own one. Never.
Right.
Not only that, I will never buy another Nintendo product if that's how they're going to play the game.
yeah,
Because it's just wrong.
Do you
It's flat out, it's just wrong.
do you see down the road if the sales for the Switch
Mm-hmm.
are say less than stellar, right? Do you see them coming out with a docked version only and calling it like a Pro, not like a PS4 Pro, but yeah, maybe a Pro version, or a Switch XL, like a bigger screen? Do you see them then marketing on top of what they've sold to try to either draw in more market or convince people to buy another one? Like, oh, this is more powerful. This is 1080. This is, has 128 gig internal storage. This has.
Well, I for sure see them coming out with a higher storage, if nothing else at all.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing I was thinking at first. The question was going to be just coming in with one with more storage, but then I thought, well, let's take it up a notch and say, okay, the PS4 came out with the Pro, the Xbox One is now coming out with the Project Scorpio, or whatever it's being called. But I don't know what the official name is going to be at launch and holiday. But you see Nintendo maybe next year then launching something to try to say, okay, yeah, we kind of screwed the pooch because this has limited this and that and everything else. So here's a Switch that we should have sold you. Last
I see
year.
them coming out with a quote
You see
unquote
that?
pro version. I do, but I don't think they're going away from the mobile side of things. My idea is that they might come out with bigger storage for sure, and that's got to be a huge thing. I think they're going to take all the negatives that everybody has been saying about this thing, and they're just going to refine it and perhaps slap an extra $100 on top of it and make it slightly bigger screen, perhaps 1080p screen, bigger storage, and then label it kind of the Switch XL or Switch Pro or whatever you want to call it. I don't I don't necessarily see them going away from the mobile thing. I mean, been they've been trying this for a while now. The Wii U, really, the Switch is the Wii U redefined, kind of almost. The Wii U. I mean, they wanted to do it with the Wii U, and it never worked. I mean, it was just a terrible concept design. I mean, the concept was decent. The design and execution was just terrible, right? Right. So I think they kind of
their implementation
they've
was
won
bad.
up the Wii U with the Switch, but I do see them definitely refining it. I think 1080, bigger storage, maybe a little bit of a bigger screen, and then just everything else, higher quality dock, things like that. But I don't know if they're going to go away from the mobile aspect of it, because that's kind of that's their selling point almost. They can't compete with the PS4. They can't really compete with the Xbox One. But they can compete by saying you can take this on the go, So I think they're just going to keep pushing for that, kind of find a niche there.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know. I kind of feel like they should have just, like, if that's the route they want to go and they want to be the king of mobile gaming, which I don't think anyone here will argue that they're not
Right.
the big dog in the mobile gaming environment right now.
No.
Why wouldn't they just continue with the DS line? Like it was designed well, it's solid, it has several features that the Switch does not have. It's established, it's got a huge catalog of games. Like it already has all of the tools and the backing and the foundation. Everything's already there. So I don't know. This almost seems like an out of left field. It almost seems like they're trying to, bridge the gap and rope in some of the console gamers, but still cater mainly to a mobile audience.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess ultimately time will tell if it was a mistake on their part.
I just think whoever sat in the testing and R&D department and didn't say, well, where's the headphone jack, where's the mics, where's the interface that allows me to chat with my friends through the console.
What is this, an Apple product?
Yeah, where's Netflix, where's I mean,
where are all the things that people want to do now? That's they done one thing.
Yeah, but that goes back to Nintendo's almost stubborn approach with things. They just don't. I feel like they don't read the market. They just do what they want to do. They don't really necessarily do the market research of what people want. And I think talking about Fortune 500 companies, EA was doing that for a long time until they were voted the worst company in the world, or the US or whatever, 2 years straight, a few years back. So they got those titles back to back, and then they decided, let's maybe this is not the route to go in. Let's try something different. Let's listen to the guys that play the games. And then they, I'm a game changer for EA. They implemented a lot of things, trying to listen more to the community. And I think Nintendo's never really done that, which is kind of a bummer to me. They've always just kind of been stubborn.
No.
Yeah, totally. And even to this day, you look at you, like, I can't upload a Zelda video onto my YouTube channel. Yeah.
Unless you're partnered.
Right. And so to me that hurts. That hurts them more than it helps them. I've never understood that quite. Why they are so, they are providing a product to us consumers, yet they don't really seem to care what consumers think, what they say about the product. They don't want to listen to. I don't know. It's a little bit of a stubborn approach.
Well, it's a lot of it. I think that hits the nail on the head with Nintendo's development policy. I think that within the next 6 months, it's safe to say within 6 months, so by September or October, when we get closer towards the holiday season, we'll see some type of announcement. We're either going to see a price cut or a new model announced, I think.
You probably should see both.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying what necessarily we should see, but I'm saying what I think we're going to see. Yeah, one or the other. Either they're going to cut the price for the holiday, or they're going to announce a new version.
Well, I think the sales of the Switch are going to stay as a pretty big number until people, start finding them used on Craigslist. um,
Yeah.
and in pawn shops or else people buy used stuff from.
Yeah, they're all over Craigslist. I was looking a little bit while
Well,
we were chatting.
And another thing is
Averaging
when, like,
$450.
you know, the launch of Mario Kart, the launch of the new Mario title will kind of drive some sales back up for them, I do believe. But
Yep.
I think the thing is, once those games are gone, that's going to be the real look to see.
Yeah.
There's a Switch, another Wii, where people bought it, played the fun games, and then get tired of going over to their friend's place to play virtual bowling or
Well,
whatever other games.
that's why one of the first things that I brought up was third-party support, because that's
Yeah.
extremely important. Is that once you have Zelda and Mario out of the way, the rest of 2017 is extremely
I mean, even right now,
sparse.
you're looking at.
Yeah.
I mean,
On
you really
releases.
just have Zelda, right? I mean, that's Bomberman is not good at all.
Yeah.
Everything else is just it's just not worth the price tag. So I mean, most people don't go out and buy those
Little
other
party type
games. So for hardcore Switch players, which I'm not, I have so many other games to play, but I've probably put 20 hours into Zelda now, and I've done a lot, and you could probably get a good 100 hours out of Zelda, which is awesome. I mean, I'm willing to pay $60 for that. Right, yeah, and
That's great
definitely
to hear
you can get
from a
100
Zelda
hours
game, too.
out of
That's
it.
great.
But hardcore Switch players are probably almost to that point right now already, or if not already past it. And now what? So you're sitting there.
Yeah.
Now what? I mean, I can't watch Netflix on it. I can't listen to music. I can't really do anything else. And Zelda is a game where the replay value is just, there's no multiplayer. There's nothing that kind of keeps you.
Well, and that's another point that I was going to bring up is, you have your single-player big games, but the multiplayer aspect, and this is really going to be interesting to see how they handle Mario Kart, the multiplayer aspect, that gives a lot of legs to most games' shelf life.
Right.
The multiplayer aspect, that's a huge selling point, is like single-player is not the focus anymore for a lot of games. And it's extremely successful for a lot of games, such as Call of Duty and Battlefield. Single player is pretty much an afterthought for those games. Multiplayer is where a lot of games live and breathe, and where they really thrive. And for Switch to make it so difficult for games to be multiplayer and to play with your friends and to not be able to do it conveniently or effectively or efficiently, it's really going to hurt, I think. And with Mario Kart, they're probably going to see success in the at-home co-op playing with friends, which I do support that. I strongly do. I think a lot of games really lack.
I agree.
As far as like couch sharing. Yes. Yeah, that's a big thing that I miss from back in
Absolutely.
the day, because you can't really do that anymore, and that's a damn shame. So they're going to see success in Mario Kart for that for sure. But again, like, everybody is so damn busy now. Everybody has things to do. They don't have too much time. So going over to a friend's house, I mean, I don't know how it is for the kids now, because we're older. I think I'm probably the youngest out of all you guys, just off the top of my head here, guessing. But even, all my friends and everything, it's not really like hang out in game sessions anymore. It doesn't really happen that we play online, for an hour and a half, and then, okay, well, I got to go to work, or I got to go pick up dinner, or I got to go do this and that, whatever.
Right.
Everybody's so busy nowadays that going over to a friend's house and playing anything for several
right.
hours just doesn't
You're
usually
absolutely right.
happen.
I mean, now the definition of hanging out with your friends is inviting them to a PSN party chat, and then just playing. Even, I mean,
Playing online.
People play different games while they're in a party chat, and they just hang out with their friends. That is a big thing. So it would have been nice to see that on the Switch. Even if you are playing different. Hey, what are you playing? Zelda. I'm playing Mario. Okay, cool. Let's talk and stuff. Like, especially the demo they're targeting. Kids in middle school and stuff. I mean, they're just getting into the, talking with their friends on. I mean, we all probably did it, right? Middle school age, you talk to your friends on the phone for hours on end and stuff. And the Switch being a portable device, it would be nice to be able to do that. Just plug in your little mic and headphones, and just be able to invite somebody into a party and talk to them. I mean, I know the Vita just added that, right? The party chat.
Yeah.
Well, look at talking about friends. Well, look, Baker and Work and myself, we've been friends for over 6 years, and we've never met.
Yeah. Yeah, purely through gaming.
Yeah.
Now,
Even though we've tried.
Switch though, the important point that I'm trying to make is that Switch
Yeah.
does not support that kind of behavior. It doesn't support playing online with friends. It doesn't support chatting in any way, really. It makes all of those things inconvenient at best,
Right.
but in extreme pain and
Yeah.
labor to work around.
I would actually change that statement a little bit, almost to say that it almost seems to discourage
Yeah.
playing with anyone other than yourself with this device.
Or
Yep.
a couch environment, like at home with your friends. Like, it's trying to market itself as, oh, we're the console you can
Right.
take over to your friend's place, play it portable. This is like they're trying to relive that, 80s, 90s, earlier 2000 life where you had to go over to your
True.
friend's place to play with them because
It's the
there was
pre-cell
no
phone era,
online.
really.
There was no
That's
party
kind of what you
chatting.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and here's another point to go back to the gaming is, and I mean, because I haven't, other than a little bit of the Wii that I touched when we first owned it, never played a Wii. I played a Wii U once over at my niece's place. What does Nintendo do DLC?
I honestly can say that I do not know.
Yeah, do they have plans to, like, I mean, could they do longevity
I
on
believe
their own
so.
content? Like, are they gonna do like a Zelda DLC? So I mean, like, I know, like, now that they, hopefully their e-store is better than it used to be. I heard it was pretty trashy for quite a while when it first was launched, and there wasn't really much talk of even the e-store. I think when the Wii came out, it was their first stab at it. But yeah, like, that's another thing too. Like, we've never heard, are they doing any type of a season pass? Are they doing anything like a DLC or stuff like that, add-ons to purchase for their big titles? I mean, that's going to be something they need to look at to bridge that gap of not having big third-party titles.
Yeah, I agree.
If
with
they
that.
don't, I
mean,
think that's
they
another
gotta
big
have
thing.
the post-release support, right? That all these games have these days. I mean, oftentimes you buy a game and it's not even. I mean,
Yep.
not even close to being the finished product. See, that's good. Now you look at
Horizon Zero Dawn
Overwatch,
is-
like how much.
Yes.
I know. I don't. But it came out. The game came out, and it didn't have that much hype. And then they supported it. Say what you want, but they've supported it like crazy, and they've
yeah.
and they've grown their
absolutely.
fan
They've
base
added characters they've
beyond
had
launch, which
events,
before that was
and they haven't charged
unthinkable,
for
right?
any
I
of
mean,
that.
launch was really the most hype you'll ever get on your title. And this is kind of one of the few titles that has actually gained momentum
Yep.
past launch, which is
Yeah, they've done lots of stuff. As a matter of fact, the next character that's coming out allegedly is a character named Doomfist, and the internet has been clamoring for Terry Crews to voice that character, and it looks like Blizzard is going to make
Yeah.
that happen.
no, it is.
Which is, I mean, that's really cool of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Oh, he's really gotten into gaming since the Battlefield 1 inviting
Absolutely.
that. He's gone
Absolutely.
hog wild with it. So I mean, he's pretty cool. He's pretty down to earth, pretty neat guy from what I've seen of him. But yeah, I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, they're talking about that, and we can talk about Rocket League. I mean, they've done a
Right.
shit ton on Rocket League, and it's become a pretty massive game since its launch. But yeah, I mean, if Nintendo's not going to do, extra content on their own
Right.
titles, I mean, that's definitely going to add to the
Now,
be a
to
negative
touch on
factor
DLC, I'm in
longevity
Zelda
for-
right now, and
them
there
as
is
well,
on the
so-
main menu, there's a tab for downloadable content. Obviously, there's nothing there yet, but it looks like
Oh.
they designed it
Okay.
with DLC in mind. So that's a promising sign. Hopefully, they'll have some more.
Well, maybe, because
True.
downloadable content could be armor.
Could just be
could
visual
be
stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Could be actual story content.
True.
It's a very broad statement.
Still, at least the options there, so that's
Mhm.
Certainly,
It
yeah,
shows the opportunity for the good stuff.
right. Okay.
Okay. Well, we have
Wow.
run at the 1.5 hour mark now.
Yeah. This is,
Well beyond expectations. But damn, what a ride! This has been fantastic. Uber, I
think
hope
this
that
is
you
actually a record, isn't it?
you can take the helmet and the pads off now. I think
That
you're,
was a
you're probably
blast.
safe.
That was fun.
Yeah, no, that was a ton of fun. So wow, man, I can't believe we hit an hour and a half. That's fantastic. Okay, so all the information that we've referenced, Panther, you're going to put some of the articles as links in the description of the YouTube video.
Yeah, there's a few things from the last podcast I'll be definitely reusing because a lot of stuff we touched on, the link about the sales and stuff. I'll put that in there for people to check out. Also, I'm putting the link to Uber's channel in the description. And anyone that's listening to this,
Thank you,
definitely go
appreciate
check
it.
out Uber's channel, man. He's entertaining.
Yeah, definitely. If he's even half as fun as he has been on this,
Thanks
then,
for having me.
I'm already subbed. I'm sold. Yeah, absolutely. It's been a pleasure. So thank you guys so much. If you made it to the finale here, to the end, thank you so much for listening and sticking through us. As always, if you guys have any comments, you want to call us dumb about anything in particular, then just leave a comment, let us know. And as well, we are available on SoundCloud to where you can listen and stream the latest episodes of the Bottlefield. So thank you guys so much once again for listening, and we will see you guys next time.
See ya.
Take care.
Later.
See ya.